legally safe knockoff of an 80s horror character with miniature swords for fingers instead of knives.
I'm Scary Terry. You can run, but you can't hide, bitch.
Hey, howdy, hey, people of the internet. Wolfman407 Dash here. So today we're going to talk about the battle between Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees from A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, respectively. But before we do that, I've got some things I want to show that I have bought and or received recently. And although I was going to save these for a unboxing and haul video that I've got coming up, I felt I should show them off sooner rather than later, because as you'll see in a moment, they are taking up a lot of space in the flat. So yeah, okay. So I've been to Scotland recently because I've got family up there, and I bought some things there, a couple of key rings and a badge, and I'd like to show off this first. So those of you who are not too familiar with the sort of characters, comic books and culture of Scotland, there are these fictional characters called Willie and this fictional family called the Bruins. And what I just showed you there was a picture of the Bruins family doing the famous Beatles walk on that zebra crossing that people know about. I've got a friend that tells me about that a lot, because there's a famous studio is there in that particular part of London. Next is an Iron Brew badge. So for those of you who don't know, Iron Brew is the fizzy drink that is made in Scotland and is the go-to beverage there when it comes to fizzy drinks. I also bought these, which are Nessie keyrings. So there's this myth, legend, or whatever, that there's a Loch Ness monster in Scotland somewhere, but whether that's true or not is anybody's guess. And then my uncle, who lives there, gave me a couple of Lego sets that he's not had a chance to build and decided to give to me because, I love my Lego. So this first one is an older one. It's this, and now you see why they take up a lot of space. So it was released in 1996, according to the Wikipedia wiki. And as you can see, it's got those weird looking minifigure characters that I think were discontinued. Yeah, and then a more recent one here, both Lego Technic, and this one was released in 2013. And now you see why they were taking up a lot of space, not the little things, the big things. Okay, so on to the topic now. So A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th were big film franchises in the 70s, 80s and 90s. And they had a lot of films. Friday the 13th had more than Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street had 9, and Friday the 13th had about 12, which includes the remakes. And of course there's the crossover film Freddy vs. Jason, which I'm going to talk a bit about today. And it was always on the books that both characters would one day have a crossover. So the way they went about it was New Line Cinema, who distribute the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and I think did one of the Friday the 13th films before Paramount took over, decided to buy the rights to Jason Voorhees. And the deal was they could use Jason Voorhees, but they couldn't use the name Friday the 13th in the film. So that's why you get films like Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X, which New Line created. And the films both franchises had good and bad films. A bit of a mixed bag for most, but generally on the whole, you get the sort of basic concept of a killer on the loose, and they want to do all this and that. Freddy Krueger is the character that invades people's dreams if you fall asleep, and that's why they get killed by him. And Jason Voorhees, well, he just doesn't like the camp counsellors or whatever coming to Crystal Lake to do whatever, because they did stuff because his mum was a killer and got killed, and he got revenge. Something many of you may not know, the very first Friday the 13th film did not feature Jason Voorhees at all. He actually came in in the second film, and he didn't get the iconic hockey mask until the third film. So yeah. So those films went on for a while. They were quite popular, made a lot of money, and filmmakers enjoyed making those films. And then came the sort of penultimate films that would lead into Freddy vs. Jason, which was Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare and Jason Goes to Hell, which both were setting up the stage for Freddy vs. Jason. However, even though that was meant to be the next film that came out, what actually happened was Wes Craven, the creator of A Nightmare on Elm Street, decided to come back and do a pretty different film to what he usually makes, in that it's Freddy Krueger brought to the real world where all the actors, crew, and all that made the films have to deal with a very, very different Freddy Krueger in the real world, or the real world, because it was a film, not actually in the real world. And Jason X only existed because they couldn't think of anything else to do with the character other than send him to space. And then finally, Freddy vs. Jason finally came out, and it had a pretty negative response from critics, but some people did appreciate the entertaining aspect of it, and a very good response from fans. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, how I feel about the film and whether it accurately portrays the fight between Freddy and Jason. So, in terms of what their weaknesses are, Freddy is obviously more powerful in the dream world than he is in the real world, and Jason is more powerful in the real world than he is in the dream world. So that part makes sense, of him being dragged into the dream world and be beaten up and all that, and traumatized with his fears and all that. Then there's the whole water and fire thing. So Freddy is weak to fire, and Jason, I'd say, isn't weak to water, but water does slow him down a lot. So he may be weak, he may not be weak, but it does affect him in a big way in that sense. So yeah, they are they are not all that similar, to be honest. I mean, yeah, they do kill characters in certain areas. Like Freddy focuses on Elm Street, and Jason usually focuses on Crystal Lake. But both characters share the similarity that they're basically weak to the opposite thing. So Freddy is weak to fire, which water can douse, which is what Jason is not weak to, but can slow him down. And Jason feels weak in the dream world because the dream world is Freddy's domain, and if Freddy's in the dream world, he's all powerful, nothing can stop him. So it made sense that he was brought to the real world for Jason to take him down, and ultimately he was taken down. So I think the film does accurately portray that fight. Whether I'd want to see them fight again, I just don't know. They did it once at the peak of both franchises' popularity, and since then we've had two remakes, for each film, which were okay, I guess, and not quite the same. Especially because Robert Englund is an iconic actor who played Freddy Krueger very well, and although Jason Voorhees, you could pretty much pick anyone to play him because he's a master character, you do need sort of a big, muscular and character actor, whatever, to be able to fight with a machete and everything. So yeah, that's what I think of Freddy vs. Jason. The film itself isn't perfect, but it does what it sets out to do, give you a good fight against people, and does the usual horror tropes of dumb teenagers trying to save the day, and or just do what they do in most films and just make love and be silly and all that, as it is with most of the time with horror. I will admit that even though I did say that there is a trope even though I did say in the tropes video that there is those characters that have sex and make love and all that, that was one of the reasons that got me into Freddy vs. Jason in a weird way, because I just, yeah. I watched it because the nudity in that was good. And that's all I'm going to say. But I also enjoyed the fight as well. The film is all about the fight between Freddy versus Jason, and they built it up as well as they can. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. And I know there was talk that there may be a crossover between A Nightmare on Elm Street and Child's Play, but unlike Freddy vs. Jason, it was more about how many kills can Freddy and Chucky do between them. And there was hints in the Child's Play films that there may be a multiverse or a shared universe between characters, slasher characters, that is. So, yeah. Okay, I don't think I need to say any more than what I've already said on those things. Of course, draw your own conclusions. You might agree with me, you might disagree with me, but again, entirely up to you what you think. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please like, share, comment below, and subscribe. Comment especially if you agree or disagree with me, and share your own opinion about Freddy vs. Jason. Whether you like it, don't like it, or whether the fight could have been better and all that. I'd love to know. See you in the next one. Peace to you all. Maybe don't go to somewhere that's Elm Street or a place called Crystal Lake, because there may be a killer out to kill you in your dreams or in real life. And especially do not make love when a killer's on loose, because that would be the most humiliating way to be killed, if you're making love and a killer comes out to kill you and you're naked. That would just be very humiliating. So yeah, right, bye.
What's with kids today, huh? No respect.